Hi guys, this is another video for the World Builder game. In this video we're going to be looking at settlements, taking a settlement action. So when you're playing the game, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be going around all these different hexes, and you might find that there's different settlements. You may have built camps, and you may have come across there's a village there called Quiet Pool. And then we've got a city there called Firekin. So there's going to be all these different settlements all over the place, and when you're in a hex where there is a settlement, what you can do is you can perform the camps and settlement actions. So you spend a day at your camp or your settlement, and we're going to look at that and see how that works. So we're going to look in, I'm going to follow the instructions from the book a little bit, so that I don't miss anything, and we'll go from there. So we're going to be using the settlement table quite a bit, so we'll get that prepared. Okay, right, so what the idea of visiting settlements is to complete what you would normally do during the before your next quest phase of the game. So when you're playing a traditional game of D100 Dungeon, what would be happening is that you'll be performing a quest, and then before you do your next quest, you perform this before your next quest phase. And this is what this settlement section of the World Builder game is going to replace. So no longer are you, if you're in a quest zone, if we was in this quest zone here, number 2, there isn't a settlement there. In order to perform the before your next quest phase, we would have to move to another settlement, to another hex that has a settlement, and then we would be able to take a settlement action and allow us to do the before your next quest phase. So you could end up, while you're playing, you could end up doing 2 or 3 quests before you're given the opportunity to do this before your next quest phase, and that is why we introduced. That's why you might like to build a camp, because that camp will actually allow you to perform that before your next quest phase. Okay, so I hope that explains that bit. I'm going to put a bit of a marker in that page for that section, and then we're going to look at how this works. Okay. So as we said before, you can perform only at campsites, villages, towns and cities can you take the camp and settlement action, and you use table S and apply rules for the settlements they are visiting. So if we look at table S, we can see that the table is broken down into various columns. We've got column for camps, one for villages, towns and cities. And so when you're visiting these, that's the column that you would use. If we was at a village, we'd use this column. If we was at a city, we would use this column, and so forth. Okay. Right, let's have a look at this. So when you use a camp, when you go to a campsite, and we've got one here, and we use that facility, that camp ends, so you remove that camp signal from the map. So you only use camps of one-time uses. Okay. Unlocking services. Okay, some of these services, depending on what village, what location you're visiting, they're going to require you to unlock a service. And we can see, say, at a campsite, you must roll equal or below the value that's in percentages to be able to unlock that service. Once you've unlocked that service, and you do it once, so if we was at a campsite and we wanted to remove some poison, we would need to unlock the service. We would need to find somebody within our campsite that could actually perform that service, somebody who was able to work with poisons and remove poisons, and then we would then need to roll 35% or less. If we did, then from that moment on we could then remove as many poison pips as we wanted. We wouldn't need to roll each time. so that's a one-off roll, but you need to do it for each service. So if we then needed to find somebody who could treat disease at a campsite, we'd need to roll 35% or less. You'll see on the table that the more populated a place is, the more of these services are automatically available. So like in a village, to unlock poison and disease, to find those people at the village, it's a 50% chance. At a town it's a 75% chance, and at a city you have no problems at all. And in fact the city acts more like a standard before your next quest phase, because nothing's modified, nothing's changed. It's all the usual prices and so forth found in the main rulebook. Okay, so buying items. Now there's certain things that you might like to buy. For instance, if we was buying an item, a needed item, every result between 1 and 45 from table N from your main rulebook could be adjusted in this example. So if we was at a campsite, table N items would cost an extra 3 gold pieces, so we would have to pay an extra 3. So let's have a look at table N, and then we'll go through a bit of an idea of what's happening on that. So let's have a look at table N. Okay, so we're at our campsite. Results 1 to 45, which is these first 3 here, are now going to cost an extra 3 gold pieces because we're at a camp. Okay, so we can see that we would have to pay for food, we'd have to pay 13 gold pieces. Okay, so you go ahead and you pay the extra gold, but you would record on your adventure sheet when we added well, in the case of food it doesn't apply, but if we was recording an item on the back of the adventure sheet and we was going to write down its gold piece value, we wouldn't write down the amount we paid. You would instead write down the amount that it's actually worth in this book here. So whatever the price is in this book gets written in these gold piece value columns on your adventure sheet. Same as the fixed prices and the gold piece values, everything is all written down with the correct prices from this and not the price that you actually paid. Okay, so that's that bit. Now when you sell items, which is section 4, some areas you will need to find somebody who wants to actually buy the item. So some people, you might have an item and you just can't find a buyer for it, and so what you need to do is for each item you wish to sell, you need to roll equal to or less than the percentage chance zone. So again, you'll notice that all the percentage chances for a camp are 35%, apart from learning a quest. All the ones for a village are 50, town 75, and there is no percentage chance for a city. So you can get quite quickly familiar with the percentage chance you need to roll for these different settlements. But getting back to finding a seller, we can see at a camp it's going to need a 35% chance to find a buyer, and if you roll above that price you can't find a buyer for that item. So if we had something like we wanted to sell my adventurer's mace and we rolled above 35%, then nobody in the camp wants to buy it, and that's it. We couldn't roll anymore. We couldn't try and search for another buyer. It would stop there. However, we could choose another item to try and sell. So you can see the better settlement to actually come and visit is a city, because there's no real reflection in prices and so forth, then a town, then a village, and then a camp. So camp is basically giving you a very basic access to the before your next quest phase. Okay, let's have a look at some other things then. Right, so once you've been through and performed all of your steps from the before your next quest phase and they've been completed, there's other things that you need to check. One of them is quests. So there's a percentage chance here that you may learn of a quest, and so what you do is you would roll that percentage chance or less, and if you found a quest, then you would start generating a quest. And all the details here are all fully explained. During the course of the game, you may be gaining some lawless points. You start the game with 0 lawless points, and depending on what you get up to and what you do, that may change. It may go up, and it may go down. If you end up at a camp, you make a lawless roll. Okay, and I just want to check. So yeah, so after you've performed all your activities, you then go from your quest, then your lawless, and then that is basically to see if you're spotted by law officials at the settlement. So the more lawless points you've got, the more you're becoming wanted in the game. Okay, if you've got 0 or less, nothing further happens. However, if you have 1 or more points, then you need to roll 1d10 and apply the law modifier to the roll that is shown for the settlement that you're visiting. Okay, yeah. If the result is equal to or less than the adventurer's current lawless points value, they have indeed been noticed, and the adventurer is surrounded by watchmen and guards, and you see the law event. Okay, so you can see that in a camp there's less people around, so you're more noticeable. So if you do have lawless points, and you only make this lawless check if you have at least 1 lawless point or more. So if you've got 0 or less, you don't need to make this check at all, regardless of these modifiers. So if I'm at a camp and I have 1 lawless point, that would make it a 3 or less. I would roll the d10. If I rolled 3 or less, which I did do, I would suffer the law event. Okay, and we'll just for a bit of a look at it, we'll have a look at the lawless event, because I think while I've been doing these videos, I haven't been featuring much on the main part of the game, which is all these different events that can be sprung on you, which is quite a bit of the fun part of the actual game. They're listed alphabetically, and here we can see the law event. So we've now we've failed our law test, we're in a camp. The adventurer is surrounded by lawmen who claim the adventurer is wanted for crimes they have committed. They grab the adventurer and try to tie their hands and feet. The adventurer must now struggle to break free by making a number of struggle, wriggle or trick tests. During the test you will be generating a break free number. The break free number begins at 6, and if you reach 0, the adventurer has managed to break free. However, if the break free result reaches 10, then the adventurer has been captured by the lawman. The 3 tests the adventurer may perform are below. However, the same test may not be performed in succession. Okay, so what you would do in that case is you would make these different tests. They're strength, dex and int based. They're all minus 15 to those tests, and this is the number we're generating: a -1 if we're successful to our break free result, and a +1 to our break free result if we fail. Now if we manage to break free, we escape to victory but become hunted, and then so you then see the hunted event, and you would look that up. If they are captured, they will suffer a punishment depending on the number of lawless points they currently have. Then reduce the lawless points by 1d3. Okay, so these are the different things. So if we were 1 lawless point or less, we're beaten. 2 to 4 lawless points would be fined. 5 to 6 lawless points would be jailed. 7 to 8 would be you see the slavery event. 9 lawless points is death, and 10 plus lawless points would be hung. So you can see the more naughty you've been and the more wanted you are, the more your punishment will be dealt with. And so let's say we were fined. It says the adventurer is stripped of all their gold pieces they have, remove all gold from the adventure sheet. But let's say they decided to jail us, it says the adventurer is thrown in jail, see the jail event. Okay, so that's just a little bit of an insight into how these events are going to get you playing the game and following different things that happen. Okay, so that's that one. Now, the chance of having an event. So if the adventurer does not suffer a law event, and that's whether or not you had to roll for it or not, then during your time at the settlement you will have an event, and the last thing to do before finishing the entire action is to roll the D100. Okay, so in that instance what you would do, you find a percentage there, which is for city it's 80%, but the rest is the common percentage value that follows through the whole chart, so 75, 50 and 35. You would roll the die. We rolled 72, so if we was at our campsite we wouldn't have suffered an event, but if we did, what you would do is you would turn to the events table. Okay, and you would find the settlement column and you would roll for a random event. So let's see what happens. Let's assume that we did. Okay, so we rolled 12. Okay, so it's a guild event. So while we're at the camp, somebody from a guild will approach us and offer us to join a guild, and I won't go into the guild details for spoiling a bit of the fun of the game, but basically you get to join a guild and you get a bit of a bonus to a certain feature that will help you in the dungeons of the game whilst you're a guild member. Okay, so that's all good. That's how the step works through. I think we've covered about all the different processes and that we do. So going back to while you're actually performing the test, there is a haggle result. So you'll be paying more at these places, towns, villages and camps, and you've got the opportunity to haggle on the price and try and reduce the prices back to their normal value. We covered haggling a bit in a previous video. This works slightly different. The test is int based and you get to add your skill bonus for haggle. If you're successful, all prices return to normal. However, if you fail the test, then all prices go up and you use the cost more guide at the bottom, and I'll just explain how that works. So if an item normally costs 1 digit, so when we say 1 digit we mean an item that, I'm going to go to table N for this. Okay, 1 digit, i.e. 5 gold pieces, which is just the 1 digit, then the item is going to cost us an extra 5 gold pieces. Oh no, sorry, it's going to cost an extra 1 gold piece more than the price that's listed here. So in this instance, it would already cost us 3. It's going to now cost us 4 for, say, a lockpick. In that example there, the lockpick was 1 digit. We failed our haggle test. It was already going to cost us 3 gold more, so that would have been 5, 8. Now going to cost us 9 gold for that one. If it's 2 digits or more, i.e. an item that costs 10 gold pieces or 35 gold pieces, then it would have normally cost us, let's say it was food, it would normally cost us 10 gold plus the 3 there, 13 gold. It's now going to cost us an extra 50 gold pieces. An extra 5 gold pieces. So we would now have to pay 13, 18 gold pieces for that item. That's a little bit of how the haggle works, or doesn't work if you happen to fail it. The usual prices for items can be found on the city list. So where we've got things like heal and poison pip removals and that, you can use these values here when you're resetting after a haggle test, these values here, again for training, we've got the current prices. For the buy needed and the search the markets and so forth, you'll have to get the prices out of the book for that, as you would normally. Okay, so that's a bit on haggling. Okay, some new skills and some new items. Okay, there's some new items that we've added to the game. They come in the form of table NI, and you can buy them when you're doing the buy needed. So this is like another needed table. We'll have a look at this table because there's some interesting things on there. Okay, so it's quite small. We have the fishing line. So you're going to need it, if you're going to have a fishing rod, you're going to need the fishing line. So there's all the prices, exactly in the same format as we found, and with chances that you might have to roll to find those items or unlock those items. Okay, so rations, you can buy rations. So what we were spending on our calendar sheet, we're spending these rations, we can buy them. And rations and food, so food is used in dungeons, rations is used in the world builder part of the game, and they're not interchangeable, so that's something to be aware of. Rations, fishing rods, saddlebags. So when we was talking in a previous video about mounts, you get the opportunity to equip these saddlebags, and each saddlebag that you equip, if we have one bag there, we also get one bag there, and it allows us to store 20 items there, 10 in that slot and 10 in that slot, and one item with a damage track there. The more saddlebags we get, the more items our mount can carry. So there's a thing there where you can use a mount to carry more equipment around with you, maybe healing potions and so forth, because you're not going to be necessarily visiting settlements quite as often as you would like, so you might like to stash in sort of cure disease and cure poison potions and healing potions and so forth, just to bump your adventure up. You could also, although it's not mentioned in the rules, you could also use these slots for storing oil, food and lockpicks as a variant to the actual game as well. Okay, so, and then of course you can buy a horse as well. And then one of the interesting things is a scroll of teleportation. Okay, so it's not available in camps, but you can pick them up in villages, towns and cities. And there's a little note here that says, if cast successfully, so it's a scroll, you need to perform a scroll test. If cast successfully whilst on a quest, the adventurer may move to any mapped area. Okay, so when you're doing your dungeon area, if you're in a particular place and you want to teleport to another dungeon section, that's how you can now do that with your scroll of teleportation. If cast successfully while on a quest and whilst playing the world builder game, the adventurer may move if cast successfully whilst not on a quest and whilst playing the world builder game, the adventurer may move to any generated hex up to 2 spaces away. So it's a way of performing a quick move as well. You're able to cast the scroll successfully, you'll be able to move up to 2 hexes in any direction. The hex would need to be generated as well, so that's quite fun. Let's go back to this section. Okay, so a bit of a breakdown on the bait and the lines and the fishing rods. If you wanting to perform some fishing actions, you're going to need a fishing rod. There's the statistics for that. It's also on table NI, but in accordance with that, you're going to need a line. Each fishing rod needs a line, and if you fail your fishing test, they do break. So you're going to need a few spare of them, and you might like to add some bait to it, and that improves your fishing test by 10 to the fishing test for the duration of the test. After the test has been made, the bait's used up, and it is removed from the adventure sheet. So you can improve your fishing a bit with that. That's all purchased whilst on the quest. Okay. Okay. And owning mounts. Owning mounts, we're going to do a completely separate section on mounts, so I won't go into too much details. And to be honest, for your first few games, you're not going to have access to a mount necessarily, so we're going to leave that for a later video. Something just as a fleeting comment really is, when you go into dungeons, you leave your mounts outside the dungeons and things can happen to them, so that's something to be aware of. Okay, and that pretty much sums up the settlement phase of the game. So I think we can leave that there for this video. Thanks for watching. If there's anything you're unsure of or I've missed or you'd like more details on, do let me know in the comments section below, and I'll try and get around to responding to that and giving you the information, probably in the form of a reply, or it could lead to another video. But thanks for watching that, and until next time, bye for now.